Hello, digital community. Welcome to the In Circle podcast with your host, Claire Avelina. It is my pleasure to make your acquaintance, your friendship, your connection, whatever we end up being. Please feel welcome to say hi to me, connect with me on social media. I would love to get to know you and all of the beautiful hearts that are tuning in to this weaving circle that we co-create together. Here, we explore the web and synthesis that happens between personal empowerment, mysticism, and real-world activism. All of these threads are woven by my diverse life experiences. So again, my name is Claire Avelina. My primary pronouns are she, hers, and I have always found home on the lands of the West Coast, primarily the Pacific Northwest. I have a very diverse background. If you are curious enough to visit my website, check out my About page. There's so much lengthy detail on the types of modalities I've studied, the education that I have earned in so many different facets and directions, as well as the life experiences that have shaped me into the person that I am today. Primarily, what I am passionate about is multidimensional sovereignty. And I define multidimensional sovereignty in 3 layers. One is the micro, our inner landscape of how we relate to others, how we perceive the world, our intimate relationship to ourselves in the mirror, to our closest relations, to life itself, to deepening into the spirit of creation and the spirit of being alive so that we can embody the version of ourselves that we know we were meant here to be. That is this beautiful internal landscape of the micro, the personal sovereignty work of releasing any distortions or projections, illusions that we have been fed, particularly from conditioning, from family, from peers, from society, that have told us to be and contort in ways that aren't actually authentic or true for us. This is the sovereignty work so that we can actually embody who we know our soul came here to be. Then there is the meso level. And for those not familiar with the word meso, in sociology or in psychology, we use the word meso as the midpoint between micro and macro. So the micro is our intimate relationships that we hold with ourselves, with our closest beloveds, with our relationship to life itself. And then the macro is the very large scale collective that we are a part of, the grander ecosystem that us as all individuals are little drops in the grand tidal wave of, which I'll get to in a moment. But the middle part is the meso, is our community, the place where we live, our relationship to the watersheds where we get our waters from, or our relationship to the extended community networks that we are a part of. This is what I lovingly call reviving the village template, or essentially coming back into right relationship with our neighborhood, reclaiming, redefining, and retemplating the community dynamics and cultural societal norms that we wish to be a part of, because we actually get to define those as walking way showers of culture. Here, we are not trendsetters, we are culture setters. And I believe that we all have a tangible ripple effect, especially when we get clear in what your heart knows is true for you, what your heart knows you desire from the world you wish to be a part of, and recognizing your sovereign power to be a way shower and pave that path for ones to come after you or ones walking alongside you. We build the world that we wish to be a part of, brick by brick, moment by moment choice together. And to me, I'm infusing those choices with love, with the holiest, highest infusion of love, compassion, inclusion, and acceptance for all that which is founded upon equity, justice, and liberation for all. And our impact on the macro level, the grand collective scale of our world or the country, the state that we're a part of, it is not to be underestimated. The impact that individuals and localized regional communities can have on that grand scale, because we set the standard, we set the tone and the foundation of what is possible for humans to relate to one another, to live in peace, harmony, beauty. So I encourage all of us to never forget or lose sight of how the inner micro work and the regional meso work can have a very tangible and real ripple effect on the macro, especially for real world advocacy work to create the structures, the standards, the cultural norms that we all wish to be a part of, where people are recognized for their beauty, for their inherent gifts, and for the unique blueprint that each of us came to be here on earth, and to respect that, honor that, celebrate it, uplift it. So this work of multidimensional sovereignty applies in so many different levels and layers. Do we have sovereignty over our own ways of walking through the world? Or are we walking programs? Or are we walking zombies that so much of social media and distortions in our grander culture have convinced us to fall into? I believe that we are so much more than that, and we can reclaim the potential that each of us were born with in order to embody the version that we came here to be. So when we're looking at the multidimensional layers of sovereignty, it can get quite complex. I really find fascination and fulfillment from investigating and getting curious about the layers of the mind, of the conditionings that we may have adopted, belief patterns, thoughts that might be running on autopilot in our systems, whether they serve us or not, our emotional body and our relationship to our emotions. Do our emotions run the show, or do we recognize our emotions as the tools that can help us embody and understand more of what our subconscious is communicating to us? There's also the nervous system, how our nervous system is hardwired, and how can we work with the intelligence of our nervous system to walk through the world feeling safe and secure in our being as often as possible. There's also the body, the somatic body, and our relationship to our bodies, our relationship to our food, and the earth where we call our home. In the unseen realm, there's the dimension of our energetic body, our aura, or the personal bubble that we all know what it feels like when someone is in your personal bubble. And even just that awareness alone is enough of a door to unlock your psychic awareness to the multidimensional reality that your body, your being is already operating in. And then finally, there's our mission, our advocacy, what we stand for in the world, whether that's your career or a passion or your art or whatever it might be that you are imprinting in the world, because you came here for a beautiful purpose. And all of these layers add up for that purpose to be revealed, for that purpose to be born and shine through to the potential that it is meant to. So all of my life experiences, whether working in the corporate marketing world that taught me so much about the skills required to bring a vision into form, to bring a heart dream into life in a practical way in the context of this nuanced matrix we find ourselves in. There's also the elements of mysticism that I have trained in so many different modalities that inform this perspective on life of we are so much more than our output. Your purpose is not what you do. Your purpose is how you spread love, kindness, whatever your soul's organic frequency is in the world. And I want to know what that organic truth of your heart actually is. Not what the world told you, not what society told you, what your soul knows. And if you don't know what that is yet, this is what we get to uncover together. Whether that be through this podcast medium, please feel welcome to dive in, receive as much juice as possible, follow up, send a message, say hi. I would love to connect with you. Any of my guests would love to connect with you and really continue to build that meso level of real world community, whether that be through the digital ethers or in the flesh. This is how we rebuild the world that we wish to be a part of, is through the ecosystem of interdependent relationships. So receive as much as you desire from this podcast and say hi. I would love to feel your heart, would love to hear your reflections of anything that's landed for you or anything that you want to add to, because this is an ongoing conversation. That's why I call this podcast The Circle, because you are a part of the circle too. Even if the medium of this platform is not necessarily intentionally curated for a exchange conversational forum, I want to invite you warmly to be a part of the conversation and join the circle. Feel your seat here with us. So please send a message. I would love to hear from you. That said, as much as I pour my heart into these podcast transmissions, they really can only go so far. If you want to even dive deeper, I invite you to connect with me. I work with people in depth one-on-one and also through group programs as well. Some of that work varies. It could be a one-off energy work session, like a soul retrieval, theta healing, subconscious reprogramming. Oh my gosh, those are so delightful and so incredibly profound. You really cannot underestimate the long-lasting change that can come from one singular energy work session. And if you're not familiar with energy work, if that kind of feels a little bit of a stretch woo-woo style, I invite you to explore my website, where not only do I have a bunch of community resources that can help anchor all of these teachings and insights in a practical level in your day-to-day real-world experience, but I also have a ton of scientific research that explains how energy work even operates and brings a lot of the woo back down to earth in a way that the average person is more likely to understand it. I will also be unpacking way more of the mysticism stuff, whether in this podcast or on my social media. So please know that regardless of however things might feel a little bit stretchy, I trust that you'll be able to receive even just a little bit of juice, gifts, treasures, insights, wisdoms from our time together. Beyond one-on-one energy work sessions, I also work with people long-term. So that looks like mentorship programs, usually on average about 6 months, where we do a very deep dive in all of these facets and layers of multidimensional sovereignty, applying all of the different complexities of the unique blueprint that is you, and personalizing a whole journey, rite of passage experience to awaken that version of you that you are ready to become at a heart-led embodied level. You are so welcome to explore what the mentorship work looks like on my website as well. You may also occasionally see me at various events such as festivals. I love to do a good tea lounge or share a workshop. And some of you might actually know me from those environments. So if you knew me by a previous name, thank you so much for staying in connection with me. It is such a treasure to be able to continue to grow in relationship as we evolve as individuals together. And I also invite that however you knew me from the past, please say hello to me now and who I am in this moment as Claire Avelina. And I thank you for continuing to choose to be in relationship with me. Some of you may also know me because of some of my apothecary creations. My closest pride and joys of my apothecary creations are my holy water protection sprays, which I spent 7 years formulating these sprays, collecting waters from 5 different sacred sites around the world, blending them with homemade Florida water, agua de Florida, from mostly organic roses in my garden. There's so much love infused in here, and you can learn so much more about what energies they're charged with and the ways that you can use them from the blog on my website. Other people have also very much enjoyed my anointing oils. I have a rose oil that people just absolutely celebrate. It makes my heart so happy to hear people receiving my craft, because these creations are truly just a bonus art form. I don't do any significant distribution of them because they're so small batch and they take a lot of love to create. So even with that, I'm not sure if I'll ever be really functioning on something like an Etsy at some point, because they're so underground and heart-led in the creations of them. And it also takes a lot of care to create these products. That said, maybe someday I do. And if my Etsy is ever operating and in flow, then I will link it in the description. But in the meantime, you can always reach out to me on social media, send me a message directly. That is the high-level overview. I don't want to spend too much time talking about myself. I just want to give you a nice orientation to this space and who I am, so that we can say a very clear hello to each other. You can explore so much more on my website, and of course, we can always connect on social media too. So please, it means the world to me to spread and pollinate the prayers shared here in these messages. I just thank you so much for being here. I hope that you receive as much nectar, wisdom, gifts as possible from these freely given offerings out into the world as much as you do. Thanks for being a part of the circle.